Now, let's talk about the Business Council of Australia. They've slammed Labor's industrial relation laws, regulations, taxes, saying it's strangling Australia's business community. The Business Council's chief executive, Bran Black, who represents some of the country's biggest businesses, we're talking here about the big four banks, Wesfarmers, Hancock Prospecting, BHP, Qantas, the list goes on. He said many chief executives feel we are losing our way. James, I've got to say I'm glad these big businesses are finally focused on the bottom line instead of politics and social engineering. How do you think the Albanese government is going to receive Mr. Black's advice?
Well, I suspect the Prime Minister is quietly spewing about this. I mean, we all know that he has a thin skin and does not take well to criticism. So seeing Bran Black's, the reports of what he's going to say tonight at the BCA dinner is one thing. But, also, like, you mentioned a whole bunch of companies there. And many of those companies, not all, I think we could exclude Hancock Prospecting from this, but many others, virtually clapped in Labor, right? And, we're very happy to see Labor come in. And we were all like, guys, I'm not sure this is a good idea. And, they all got on board with the voice. So many ASX 100 companies, Qantas did up its planes, blah, blah, blah. All of this, and it's like, guys, these people aren't your friends. They tell you who they are. They're very open about it. And so it's just amazing that it's taken 2 years, an IR bill, re-regulation of the economy, and a serious downturn in the economy for them to say, maybe, Rita, we weren't on the right track here with this one.
This is it. There's been this switch. It wasn't that long ago that you considered big businesses would be siding with the Conservatives if they were going to have any sort of political stance. But that has not been the experience in the last few elections, and certainly the last one. They seem to be lockstep with Labor and, silly decisions, silly outcomes. Maybe they'll learn their lesson. We'll see. Now, let's turn to the US. The focus has been placed on the issue of unchecked immigration. We're talking legal and illegal here. And also the issue of assimilation and values. It was all sparked by Donald Trump's now infamous comments about cats and dogs being eaten in Springfield, Ohio. Tell me about the fallout of those comments and the debate it's generated. It's gone in a very different direction than I think many media commentators expected.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, because this is the thing about the cats and dogs thing. They're eating the cats, they're eating the dogs, they're eating the pets of the people who live there. We've all heard this line so many times from Donald Trump at the debate. And, of course, the media lost their mind. Oh, that's fake news. But the important thing about this is that Donald Trump has been trying to talk to all Americans about the real crisis at the southern border, 10 million people plus coming in illegally through that southern border since the Biden administration has been in power, them being dumped all over the country in towns that cannot handle that sort of influx, and, a lot of crime and other problems going along with it. And yet, that's really been an issue for core believers. But this issue about the cats and dogs, because it's almost so goofy, right? Like, it gives people space to talk about it, look at the numbers, go, hang on, why is a town of 60,000 like Springfield, Ohio, getting 20,000 Haitians, as many as 20,000 Haitians? That doesn't seem right to me. And so, like, before it was all, sort of stuff like, well, we're talking about the latest person who was murdered in some horrible, violent way. And people don't want to hear about it. They don't want to talk about it. They know intellectually that it's happening, but they don't want to talk about it. But this is sort of so goofy and weird and memeable that suddenly it creates a whole new frame in which to discuss migration. And I think, on that level, I think it's been a huge win for Trump.
Now, a lot has been said about these bomb threats that happened in Springfield, Ohio, and the Republicans, particularly Trump and Vance, are being blamed. But the governor of Ohio has revealed today that these bomb threats have all been hoaxes, all of them, and many of these threats are coming from overseas, not the narrative the media has been pushing, James.
Yeah, no, and of course, again, it's more and more fake news because the bomb threat story allowed the media to do two things. Number one, portray Trump as dangerous. You know, his dangerous rhetoric is causing danger and danger and danger. And then on the other hand, it was also allowing them to say, well, the locals in Springfield are actually just a bunch of racist rubes who deserve everything they have coming to them. You know, and of course now Mike DeWine, the governor of Ohio, has said, you know, no, well, actually they're all overseas hoaxes. And, you know, it just all seems so kind of Jussie Smollett to me now at this point, where they're just trying to, you know, come up with, you know, as we always say, Rita, on Outsiders, you know, the market for hate crimes they're so rare that people are making them up.
There is. If America is so inherently racist, why are there so many race crime hoaxes? Surely there should be enough genuine ones to satisfy everybody. Now, I want to ask you about racism a little bit more, because political commentator Matt Walsh has released another documentary. This one is called Am I Racist? The last one was all about the trans issue, and it was hilarious. It did it remarkably well. This one seems to be doing even better business at the box office. Audiences love it too. It's got a 99% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, which is astonishing. Let's have a quick look at a clip of it.
The entire system has to burn. And I'm not going to even use save this country. This country is not worth saving. This country is a piece of shit.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. White.
Folks.
White.
Trash.
White supremacy.
White woman. White boy.
White.
Entitlement.
White.
Centering. White. Silence.
Is there a black person around here?
There's a black person right here. Does he not exist?
But James, critics are refusing to review this film, despite the fact it's in the top 5 films in the country and it's got this massive audience score. Matt Walsh invited critics from Variety magazine, The New Yorker, The New York Times, IndieWire. They were all invited to a preview to see this and say what they like. They can give it a 0 score, but none of them want to even acknowledge it exists.
Well, I think they're probably afraid that they're going to like it. You know, I mean, wouldn't that be horrible and uncomfortable if they would have said, oh, wow, that was a pretty good film. I've really got to tell everybody. No way, I can't tell anybody that the Matt Walsh film was good. You know, we see what's going on here. And the problem is these people, like from Variety, you know, these are from old school corporate media outlets in the U.S., you know, and a lot of them have found their relevance declining. And what they're doing now is they're just, you know, they're fighting a rearguard action against change. And it's not going to work for them because, you know, the more they try to ignore where things are and what the sort of the leading edge of film is, including if it's a documentary by Matt Walsh that's incredibly popular and good, they're just going to serve to further, you know, make themselves irrelevant and just be, you know, old critics yelling at clouds.
You're so right. And there is such a demand, and the success of this film shows, and others we've seen in the last couple of years, that conservatives want content that isn't insulting to them and their values. Now, it doesn't have to be a documentary, it can be fictional, but so much of what Hollywood is churning out has got this political edge to it that is insulting to about half the country. And that half of the country spends money at the cinemas just like the lefties do. James Morrow, thank you so much for your time this evening.
Thanks, Rita.